very good. Would you want to look into, I guess, the left camera up there and say hello to all those wonderful folks out there?
Hello, I'm Jim Lovell, commander of Apollo 13.
You know, to start things off, Ken, if you wouldn't mind, we did it with Jim and I hope to with Fred. Could you look into the camera lens itself and introduce yourself to the people? I'm Ken Mattingly. I'm command module pilot for Apollo 13.
All right. I'm Ken Mattingly, command module pilot on Apollo 13.
I wonder, as we get started, I had Jim and Ken both do it. Could you look into the camera there with the light on it and sort of identify yourself for all the lovely listeners out there in television land? I'm Fred Hayes, lunar module pilot for Apollo 13.
My name is Fred Hayes, and I'm the lunar module pilot on Apollo 13 mission.
Could you tell us a little bit, again briefly, describe your personal background and experience before you came into NASA, and also hit upon your extensive experience since you have been in the astronaut program?
Well, I was among the second group of astronauts that came into the program back in 1962. I can recall that we got aboard just prior to Wally Schirra's flight, and my first exposure to space flight was to come directly down to Cape Canaveral, I think as it was called in those days, and talk to Wally and see Wally's flight. My experience before getting into the space program consisted of basically naval aviation, mostly in the testing field, going through Patuxent River and then working on the F-4H airplane, which was called at that time. In NASA, I was assigned to 2 Gemini missions and a backup on 2 of them. First time I got assigned to a flight was Gemini 4 as backup to Ed White, which turned out to be a real interesting flight and a very interesting training period. Then Frank Borman and I were assigned to the Gemini 7 mission, which was the long duration 2-week flight, which proved to be quite interesting in another way, of course. Then I went back as backup to Tom Stafford on Gemini 9 with Rendezvous, which I hadn't had previous experience with. And then with Buzz Aldrin, Buzz and I completed the Gemini program with Gemini 12. After that, I went into Apollo. I was a backup, actually, to Mike Collins on what was then called the E mission, which turned out to be Apollo 8. And as you know, Mike had a neck injury, and so I replaced him on Apollo 8. I then reverted back again and was a backup to Neil Armstrong on Apollo 11, and from there I worked back into Apollo 13, and that's where I am now.
Why don't you describe your duties as commander of the Apollo 13 mission again with the time constraint that we're having?
My principal duties, of course, are to observe and to monitor the boost phase during the launch of the flight, and then to participate in the navigation en route to the moon, to take command of the lunar module around the moon, to land, to help deploy the scientific package and do the geology field exercise, and then of course work on the rendezvous and participate in the lunar photography after the rendezvous for the last day, and to help Ken Mattingly on the way home and the re-entry.
Why don't we begin then? Could you review briefly for our listeners and viewers your experience before joining NASA and since your assignment since you've been in the astronaut program?
Well, let's see. A starting point is a bit difficult. I guess a good place to start would be where I got involved in the flying business. I joined the NAVCAD program, and it was 1952. And after completing naval flight training, I was commissioned into the Marine Corps and finished out that active duty tour at Cherry Point, then back down in Texas instructing in naval flight training. After that, I sort of had in mind getting into the flight test and into the business, And my only 2 years of school at that time were in journalism, so I had to think about going back to school and getting a degree in either one of the sciences or engineering. And I picked the University of Oklahoma primarily because it also afforded a very convenient simultaneous extension of my flight experience with the Air National Guard at Oklahoma City. So 3 years later, I had an aeronautical engineering degree, and 3 more years flying now with an Air Force Reserve outfit. And at that point, I was lucky enough to find an opening at Lewis Research Center for NASA as a research pilot. After a little over 3 years at Lewis, where I was working with the order of 4 or 5 different programs, the biggest one of which was a zero-gravity program in an AJ-2 aircraft. I transferred out to the NASA Flight Research Center at Edwards, California. And while at Edwards, I had the good fortune to get a year off during 1964 to go through the Air Force Aerospace Research Pilot School at Edwards. And while working with NASA the other 2.5 odd years, I worked on programs that were from, at one extreme, I had a light aircraft or a business aircraft program, to F-104, and when I left, I was starting to work into the lifting body program that is currently going on at Edwards. So for me, the move then to Houston and the astronaut program was simply my third transfer in NASA. In fact, job description-wise, I guess the Civil Service Commission doesn't really have any such thing as astronaut, and I think my official job description is still aerospace research pilot.
Would you briefly describe your responsibilities as the lunar module pilot?
On the command module side, my primary responsibility is with managing the systems. The systems I'm responsible for, the electrical, communications, the environmental. And aside from that, I'm primarily a cameraman. I support Ken and Jim and about any task they need supporting in, the chief cook and bottle washer, etc. On the LEM side, I likewise have, in this case, almost complete system responsibility for virtually anything that breaks in the LEM. And while Jim is pretty much the stick and rudder man and actually does the flying of the vehicle. Of course, in the EVA, it almost becomes a parallel function there, where Jim and I both have assigned duties that are in some cases independent. In some cases, we end up working quite close together.
Yeah.
You want to widen back down? Okay. Why don't we go for this will be the one that I'd like for you to keep in less than a minute, just outline your responsibilities as a command module pilot in hopefully less than a minute.
Worldwide.
Okay, and you can start anytime you want.
All right. As command module pilot, I have the same general goals that Fred and Jim have. The most important objective of our mission, of course, is to land at Fromaro. And so everything that I do is based towards supporting that activity. And when we started out our training, one of the first things we did was to recognize that Fromaro represents a unique landing operation. It's different from the other 2 types of landing terrain that we've been in. And the lunar surface activities are slightly different. They're more extensive, and it takes a lot of field geology. This type of work takes a lot of part task training on the part of Jim and Fred. So in order to relieve them of some of the burden of training, I've taken over the responsibilities for the remainder of the flight plan. Everything that is controlled other than the landing and lunar surface operation and the liftoff.
How would you characterize the main mission objective of Apollo 13?
Well, the main mission objective of Apollo 13 is a continuing one that we've had from 12 actually, which is basically the scientific exploration of the moon. Just what the motto there sort of signifies. We hope to, of course, find out a lot about the origin of the moon, and from that, the origin of our own planet, the Earth. We have, of course, a secondary objective in continuing the development and testing and working of the space systems itself for, of course, in future flights to other places. The basic objective, the particular objective of the 13, of course, is a highland landing, except for the plains, which we had in 11 and 12. We're going to go now into the mountains and look at a different area.
Captain Lovell, would you describe the major milestones of the Apollo 13 mission from shortly after liftoff to splashdown?
The first objective and milestone of the Apollo 13 mission is, of course, a successful translunar injection, or position going towards the moon. We then hope to make a successful lunar orbit, followed by the command module bringing the entire stack, the stack being the command module and the lunar module, down to an 8 by 60 mile orbit. After that, we'll use the lunar module to land in a mountainous or hilly terrain called Frau Maro. The next milestone will be to explore Frau Maro on foot, to look and find out exactly how it was formed, and also to deploy an experimental package called ALSEP. Then, of course, there will be the rendezvous, and following the next day by bootstrap photography or photographing future landing sites for other missions. And of course, the last milestone will be the return home.
What about your training for this mission? For how long have you been training for it in particular, and what methods have you been using, and have you gained anything from the previous missions to aid you?
Well, we've gained quite a bit from previous missions, and sometimes I wonder how we ever got adequately trained on Apollo 11 to launch at the time we did. We, of course, have extended our launch centers now, and we actually even extended Apollo 13 an extra month, and yet our training days are filled up. We start around 8 o'clock in the morning and go to 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, either with the simulators or briefings. Our training is basically broken up into training on the simulator, which will give us the complete mission training of all the systems and the procedures of getting to the moon, of landing and coming back again, and also in the EVA, or the lunar exploration type work, which Fred Hayes and myself will do once we land. We have, I hope, improved extensively this type of training by trying to duplicate as much as possible the actual techniques and procedures which we hope to follow on the moon by doing them out on the field. We've gone to places such as Hawaii, which has quite a volcanic representation of what we might find, Flagstaff, out at a place called Kilburn Hole near El Paso, and we try to duplicate exactly what we're going to do on the moon. By repetition, we hope that we can get our procedures down such that it'll become second nature to us.
Could you talk a little bit about your training for the upcoming Apollo 13 mission, and in light of the job being a little easier, being able to refocus your activities into other areas, if you could?
Okay, well, as our Apollo program matures and we come down the stream, we're answering a lot of questions that previously crews had to worry about having 2 or 3 options and 2 or 3 different plans to handle any contingency. Well, Apollo 11 and Apollo 12 both answered a lot of these questions for us. We now know that our techniques for how to land on the lunar surface are good. We know that the hardware is good. We've demonstrated that it can handle several different types of operation. So today the crew training doesn't have to emphasize quite as many contingency plans as we used to. And today we can sit down and spend our time worrying about how we can be more sophisticated and slightly more productive in the type of lunar surface and lunar orbit activities that we have. And so as a result of this, we can concentrate in flying the types of simulations that previous flight crews have had to give second rate to in order to handle the basic problem of landing.
April 11th, 1970, launch day. The crew of Apollo 13. Jim Lovell, commander and veteran of 3 previous missions. He had orbited the moon Christmas 1968 on Apollo 8. Fred Hayes, his first time up, lunar module pilot. Jack Swigert, command module pilot. 3 days ago, he was on the backup crew. Now he replaced Ken Mattingly. Mattingly had been dropped from the mission because he had been exposed to German measles. He would watch the launch from Houston's mission control.
Astronauts Hayes, Lovell, and Swigert, in that order, entered the suit room just a few moments ago and began the suiting operations. If they stay on schedule, as they have been this morning, they'll be departing from the crew quarters at approximately 11:07 a.m. for the trip out to the pad. Countdown continuing to go well at this time as we remain in our hold at T-minus 3 hours, 30 minutes, and holding. This is Kennedy Launch Control. Apollo 13 Commander Jim Lovell, Command Module Pilot Jack Swigert, and Lunar Module Pilot Fred Hayes are now in the transfer van, and they'll start that 8-mile trip out to the launch pad. At the pad, we just heard from astronaut Vance Brand. He has completed all his functions inside the spacecraft and is now awaiting the arrival of the prime crew. The pad leader also reported back that he is ready. They're ready in the White Room and in the spacecraft to receive the crew. Now T-minus 3 hours, 7 minutes, 9 seconds, and counting. This is Kennedy Launch Control. And astronaut Lovell is the first one to come across. Lovell will be followed by Hayes and one suit technician. The other suit technician will remain in the elevator with the command module pilot, Jack Swigert. The 2 men now are entering the White Room, and they'll now prepare for the ingress. The first one to enter the spacecraft will be the spacecraft commander, Jim Lovell. He'll move into the center seat and then over to the far left-hand seat. Second one to go in will be the lunar module pilot, Fred Hayes. He'll move into the center seat and then across to the right-hand seat. This is Apollo Saturn Launch Control, T-minus 2 hours, 34 minutes, 57 seconds, and counting. At this time, the spacecraft commander, Jim Lovell, is aboard the spacecraft, which they have decided to call Odyssey. Lovell made a communications check just moments ago, asked if he could hear. He said, "I read you loud and clear." He actually entered the spacecraft at 11:32. We had Hayes just finishing entering the spacecraft. He moved into the spacecraft at 11:38 and will now be moving over to the right-hand seat. This is Apollo Saturn Launch Control, T-minus 2 hours, 28 minutes, 54 seconds, and counting. And the last of the 3 astronauts, the command module pilot, Jack Swigert, has now gone aboard the spacecraft. 1 point review and going over the sill at 11:44 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Communications checks have been established now with both the spacecraft commander, Jim Lovell, and the lunar module pilot, Fred Hayes.
This is Mission Control Houston. At the present time, the flight controllers here in Mission Control are monitoring the countdown and the status of the crew, the launch vehicle, and the spacecraft. The Worldwide Manned Spaceflight Network is up and ready to support the launch. We do have a problem with the Vanguard tracking ship downrange in the mid-Atlantic. A tracking data processor, we understand, is down on the Vanguard, and we will not get high-speed radar tracking unless this problem is cleared up. The Vanguard is a desirable element of the tracking network, but is not essential, and we're going to continue the launch with that problem.
T-minus 43 minutes and counting, and swing arm 9 should be coming back. Swing arm 9 moving back now to the 12-degree position. It's about some 10 feet now from the spacecraft. We now have word that the Vice President, Spiro Agnew, and the Chancellor of West Germany, Willy Brandt, have arrived at the distinguished guest site. Now T-minus 42 minutes, 31 seconds, and counting. This is Kennedy Launch Control. The countdown moving along well at this time. T-minus 19 minutes, 4 seconds, and counting. This is Kennedy Launch Control. Spacecraft Commander Jim Lovell says Odyssey is go. He will be the last one to perform a function here during the countdown at the T-minus 45-second mark. The Commander Jim Lovell will set the final alignment of the spacecraft guidance. That's the last crew action before the liftoff of Apollo 13. We continue to aim for a liftoff at 2:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The third stage liquid oxygen tank has now been pressurized, and the second stage liquid oxygen tank has been pressurized. We'll be making our final transfer from external power source, that is from the external power source at the pad, to the launch vehicle batteries at the T-minus 50-second mark. We'll be keeping an eye on that power transfer at T-minus 50 seconds. The S4B propellants, now all pressurized. S4B propellants, that's the third stage of the Saturn V pressurized. 1 minute, 15 seconds, and counting.
The launch Saturday morning was not unusual. It was a very nominal launch. The suit up, the ingress to the spacecraft was very smooth. We had practiced it before. It seemed even a lot easier than I had experienced on Apollo 8.
Third stage, and the instrument unit going to internal power. T-minus 37 seconds, and our count continues to go well. We'll be looking for an ignition of those 5 first stage engines at the T-minus 8.9 second mark. We've passed T-minus 30, T-minus 25 seconds, and counting, and Apollo 13 is go. T-minus 20 seconds, T-minus 20 seconds, and counting. 17, guidance release, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Ignition sequence has started. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We have commit and we have liftoff at 2:30.
T11, Jim. Yaw program. Clear the tower. Yaw complete. Roll program. Houston, roger, roll. Houston, go at 30 seconds. Roll complete and we're pitching. Roger that. Stand by for mode 1 Bravo. Mark 1 Bravo. 1 Bravo. Command.
Liftoff came just as I had known it before. Communications were excellent, and the entire boost phase was compared very favorably with what I had experienced before.
13 Houston, go at 1. We show the cabin relieving. 13, roger. 13 Houston, stand by for mode 1 Charlie. Mark, you're 1 Charlie. Mark, 1 Charlie. And 13, you're go for staging. Go for staging, roger. We're EDS manual. Copy that. Step forward. Confirm inboard out 13, you're looking good. Roger.
I noticed the inboard light come on, indicating on the second stage, indicating that an engine had shut down. I'd called inboard, as was the normal procedure, and realized then that it had come about 2 minutes early. And the ground confirmed this, and as a consequence, we had an early engine out in the S2 stage, and our total boost time was about a minute longer. This did not impair our flight, however. We had enough fuel to relight the third stage and go on into a translunar injection and a trajectory towards the moon.
Tower jet. We confirm skirt SEP, roger. Tower jet, mode 2, Jim, looking good. Mode 2. Roger, nominal on the level sensor, 948 on the S2 cutoff. That's affirmative, and stand by for S4B to orbit. Mark, you have S4B to orbit, Jim. Roger, we have S4B to orbit. Apollo 13, Houston, mark level sense arm. Mark level sense arm, roger. Staging. Roger, staging. And S4 ignition, Houston. Roger that, Jim. Thrust looks good. Roger. 13, Houston, you're looking good. Trajectory, guidance, CMC are all go. Thank you, Joe.
We've had loss of signal now from the spacecraft. At last look, everything appeared to be normal with the spacecraft and the launch vehicle. We currently show an orbit of 103.2 nautical miles. Actually, correction on that, 102.6 by 106.3, and our current altitude is 103.2. We'll be reacquiring the spacecraft over the United States at the ground elapsed time of 1 minute 28 seconds 28 minutes 43 seconds, at which time you heard the crew advise that they will be configured for the TV transmission, which is scheduled to occur at about 1 minute 1 hour 36 minutes over the Mila station.
358 139er 320 302 319er 040. Ejection time 4 plus 01 plus 00. Over.
Okay, TLI 2 plus 26 plus 05 17er 108 000 5 plus 47 10416er 35587 358 13er 320 302 319er 040. And ejection time 4 plus 01 plus 00.
Roger, Fred. Read back correct, and we're getting a nice color TV picture now.
The next step in the routine of lunar flight was to burn out of Earth orbit toward the moon.
Copy that, Jim. Good deal. Copy that, Jim. Good deal.
Jim Lovell reports we have ignition.
Engine off. Engine off.
Houston, copy. Engine off.
Okay, Joe, the Disky read 35560 plus 04445 plus 01769er, and Delta VC was minus 3.0.
Oh, Roger that. You can't ask for much better than that. How about the burn time, did you notice?
Okay, on my trusty watch, I had about 3 3/4 seconds long.
Okay, copy that.
The next step was to pull free of the third stage and dock with the lunar module Aquarius.
We're looking down the nose of the S4B minus its slaw panels at this time, a top view of the LEM. At last report, Swigert said they were 80 feet away from the S4B, and that distance should be closing. This view of the Saturn third stage, and the lunar module is coming to us from about 5,000 miles beyond Earth. The spacecraft and S4B traveling at a speed of about 22,900 feet per second at this time.
I'll be moving the TV here directly. I'm going to pull it out of its bracket. Go.
13 Houston, did you call?
All right, John, be moving the TV to get a better shot here, moving out of its bracket.
Okay, Fred, it's just beginning to cut off at the bottom, but it's still a very good picture. That's a good picture, Fred.
Yeah, we're just about there. About 10 more feet now.
Roger.
Everything looks pretty good down in the S4B too. The shroud still looks intact down there.
Good deal. There's really quite a bit of detail in this picture.
Okay, we've got 2 barber poles.
Houston, roger.
Okay, Joe, I'm pointing over toward Jack, and it's pretty bright with the Earth out that window. Is that sort of washing out the picture here?
No, Fred, it's not. We've got a bright spot where the window is. The rest of you are semi-silhouette. It's a pretty impressive picture. Houston, I guess we think we could stand one more click down on the f-stop.
Okay, Joe, he's going to do it.
That is, we want you to open it up. Looks like a very interesting book you're reading.
I've got 2 of them. Okay, I'm going to try to shift her up to look up into the tunnel here. What you're looking at, Joe, is the commander has removed the hatch and is proceeding to stow it. Okay, we're about ready to pull the LEM out, Joe.
Okay, 13.
There she comes. Okay, it looks like we're clear, Joe. Apollo 13, Houston. Go ahead. Okay, we'll be waiting for you to tell us that you feel you're safely cleared the booster and give us a go to command the booster in its yaw maneuver. And Houston, I can see the gold shroud around the IU, and it looks like it's all intact. Okay, Joe, is ECOM monitoring the 024 highlight again? We haven't yet started the venting yet. Okay, stand by, I'll check.
A booster engineer reports the preliminary indications are that our Saturn S4B evasive maneuver were successful. The flight dynamics officer will be evaluating the trajectory to assure that we've got the kind of separation from the spacecraft that we were looking for, and also to determine to what extent we're heading toward the trajectory which would impact the S4B on the moon.
Jim, Houston, you're looking good down here. Go for the burn. Right, Sam. Good deal. 2 ball. Okay. Shut down. Good, shut down. Okay, let's get the residuals. I'm asking the computer how far away we are. The computer is telling me we're 121,490 miles out. Okay, that agrees fairly closely with our map on the wall. Looks like your beards haven't come along to the point where you've had to use the razor, though. Well, we've been debating that. We thought we'd take care of our beards tomorrow and make that one of our daily routines. Okay, that brings the moon in. We can see the terminator at the top of the melon-shaped disk. Okay, and now you can see a few sparkling particles going across the screen. Those are being emitted from the thrusters.